New York's winter just took a louder turn. In one of the most eventful days of the offseason, the New York Mets finally landed the top-end starter they've been chasing, while the New York Yankees stabilized their lineup by re-signing Cody Bellinger. Together, the moves didn't just reshape the city's baseball outlook. They also changed the league-wide starting pitching market, leaving fewer obvious landing spots for the remaining premium arms. Mets strike first. Freddie Peralta becomes the missing rotation piece. The Mets' week got even better, with a trade that addressed their most persistent roster need, a frontline starter. New York acquired right-hander Freddie Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers, along with righty Tobias Myers, sending two top prospects, Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat, to Milwaukee in return. For the Mets, the upside is obvious. Peralta is a proven impact arm, a two-time All-Star who finished fifth in NL Cy Young voting last season, and his arrival gives New York a true top-of-the-rotation presence. MLB trade rumors framed the fit as immediate. Peralta can now pair with Nolan McLean at the top, giving the Mets a sharper 1-2 look than they've had in recent seasons. New York's rotation is suddenly crowded, in a good way. One of the most interesting parts of the Mets' new situation is what comes next, because this team now has options, and enough depth to either protect itself against injuries or turn surplus pitching into another trade chip. Beyond Peralta and McLean, MLBTR outlined a group of veteran starters who can realistically be part of the 2026 plan, including David Peterson, Kodai Senga, Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea. Meanwhile, Myers could also help in the big leagues, and the Mets still have Jonah Tong and Christian Scott, returning from Tommy John surgery, as potential rotation pieces, with minor league options available for each of them if New York needs flexibility. That depth doesn't just create competition. It gives the Mets leverage, both in managing workload and in shaping the next move. Are the Mets finished? Maybe not. Even after landing Peralta, MLBTR noted there are still unanswered questions about what the Mets might do next. One possibility, adding outfield insurance behind Carson Benj and Luis Robert Jr. Another, using the team's remaining starting pitching glut in a future deal. In other words, this trade may not be the conclusion of the Mets' offseason push. It may be the moment it officially gained direction. Yankees bring back Cody Bellinger and set the outfield plan. Across town, the Yankees answered their own major question by bringing back Cody Bellinger on a 5-year, $162.5 million deal that includes opt-outs after 2027 and 2028. The signing instantly clarifies how New York sees its everyday outfield. MLBTR described the Yankees as set to rely primarily on Bellinger, Aaron Judge, and Trent Grisham. It also raises the obvious next questions. Where does that leave Jason Dominguez? What about top prospect Spencer Jones? The answer might be simpler than the speculation suggests. Grisham is on a 1-year deal, and teams rarely complain about having too much talent. Dominguez and Jones could remain key depth pieces, or trade assets, depending on what the Yankees decide to pursue next. The Yankees aren't necessarily done shopping. While Bellinger was the big fish for New York, MLBTR emphasized the Yankees were also involved in the Peralta trade market before Milwaukee chose the Mets package. And the Yankees already made a pitching move elsewhere, deepening the rotation by acquiring left-hander Ryan Weathers from the Marlins. A sign their front office still has its eyes on October, not just opening day. The ripple effect. What happens to the rest of the rotation market? Peralta moving to Queens didn't just take an elite pitcher off the board, it also removed what MLBTR called the most obvious suitor for a high-end starter. That matters because the market still has two headline arms with top rotation credibility. Framber Valdez. Zach Gallen, though MLBTR notes he's coming off a down 2025. So if the Mets are no longer the cleanest fit, who is? Teams still shopping but with complications. MLBTR highlighted several clubs still searching for a frontline starter, each with its own twist. Orioles. Baltimore has been known to be in the market and added upside with Shane Baz, but hasn't landed a more established arm yet. Cubs. Chicago picked up promising righty Edward Cabrera, but could still aim higher. Braves. Atlanta could use another arm, but doesn't typically spend at Valdez levels in free agency. Diamondbacks. Payroll space may be an obstacle. Angels. They saved money through Anthony Rendon's contract restructure, but haven't stood out as major free agency players yet. The result is a market that still has premium supply, but fewer perfect matches. New York set the tone, now the league has to react. If the early offseason was about uncertainty, Thursday morning felt like a pivot point. The Mets solved the top of their rotation, the Yankees settled their lineup centerpiece, and the rest of baseball is now forced to recalibrate what's left on the board. And with Valdez and Gallen still looming as the biggest remaining rotation dominoes, the next wave of moves may come down to one question. Who's willing to pay the price, and who's running out of time to find a true ace?